What is good? What is up? It's Jordan, Texans Thoughts, and we're back with another live stream. Let's go. Let's go, boys. Oh my goodness, it happened. It actually happened. The Houston Texans hired DeMeco Ryans as their head coach. Really quickly, do y'all see this gray box around my face every couple of seconds, or is that just me? Anyways, let's go. They made a great, smart, wise decision for the first time in I don't even know how long. I think it's safe to say that this is the happiest I've been as a Texans fan since probably 2019, the Bills win in the playoffs. Yes, Randall, is that for the box? What is this box? I think it's my camera adjusting and trying to focus on my face. I don't know. I apologize for that. I'll try and figure that out. But let's go. Gray box maybe camera tracking. How do we turn that off? Is that part of? There's not many settings in the camera thing. Let me turn this off and turn this back on. I don't know. The good old hard reset. Boom. Stick with me. That has never happened before, so I'm not too sure what's going on. But we are going to do that and hope for the best. Alrighty. Maybe that's new. There's a sniper in the room, right? I got my crosshairs right on me. God damn. All right. Where was I? Yeah. Drop it in the comments, man. How you feeling about the new hire? Had to pop out the Andre Johnson 80 for him, little throwback. For the legend DeMeco Ryans. I love the hire, man. I love everything about it. I genuinely didn't think that we were going to get him. You know, I didn't think that we were going to get the top guy in the market. With everything we've been through, you know, in the past couple of years, it's been some tough seasons, been tough times, but I think this is really starting to show the perspective of the Texans is different around the league. We are not dysfunctional anymore. We are on the come up. And I think we're past rock bottom at this point. I mean, you talk about the last season and, you know, what's transpired. Firing Jack Easterby, firing Lovie Smith, you know, now hiring DeMeco Ryans. Those are three major, you know, personnel moves that have kind of really just turned the tide for our Houston Texans. So I'm super, super happy that that's the case. And Caleb, thank you. Let's go, my boy. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate you. Happy as hell. We're going to get into thoughts on the offensive coordinator and the staff in general in a second here. It is clean, ain't it? Shout out to my boy Paul Hamlin for finding me the place to get this down there in Austin. Yeah, this stream, honestly, we're just going to talk about the hire, go through some rough thoughts, mainly answer your guys' questions and just enjoy, man. But, man, yeah, I think it says a lot that, you know, the top head coach candidate in this cycle viewed us as a very good destination. The Broncos really did not do it for DeMeco as hard as they pushed to sign him. He's like, no, this is my dream job, coaching the Houston Texans, and he's back home, baby. Let's go. Literally, we used to pray for times like this. And that's the thing with DeMeco, Colin. You're absolutely right. You know, he's always been super intelligent and a true leader. Every player that you hear from, whether it's J.J. Watts or whoever, everyone who has crossed paths with DeMeco has always said that he's a leader and he was made to be a head coach and they saw it coming. So with DeMeco, we're getting the ultimate leader of men, someone who will always create buy-in in the locker room. The players are going to play hard and they're going to play fast for him. And I love that out of a head coach because at the end of the day, it's a leadership position. So he's got a mixture of that, the leadership personality traits, and then the results as a defensive coordinator where he's going to build an identity on that side of the ball as a strong defensive unit. Led the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL this past season with the Niners. Last year, they were top 5, I believe, as well. And so his results speak for themselves. Oh, Money Matt with the 20 bomb. Let's go. We finally have direction here in a couple months. we finally have direction here. In a couple months, we will have a franchise quarterback. We on the rise. Let's go. We'll talk about franchise quarterbacks as well and which quarterback would potentially fit best with DeMeco Ryans' offensive system, depending on who he hires. DeMeco shops at AGB. We better spend like the Jags last year. The division is ours for the taking. I think you're absolutely right on both those points, Nathan. We have, depending on which cap site you look at, we either have the 5th most or the 6th most cap space in the NFL, but it's about just under 40 million. And so we've got tons of money to spend. I think DeMeco number 1 will be the type of head coach that will attract certain defensive personnel and certain defensive free agents over to the Texans. And on top of that, I think we are also in a position where it's a little bit okay and a little bit fine to have to overpay for maybe 1 or 2 guys, as long as they are, good performers, if that makes sense. So I think we should be spending some money in free agents here, and we'll get into that in a second. We'll do a mock draft, sure, as well. Schedule review, we'll save that for a little bit later, closer to the season. It's January? It ain't even February yet. We got time on the schedule. Yeah, so I guess the first thing to talk about I wanted to get into was the coaching staff, potential coaching staff for Mr. DeMeco Ryans. And first up, we have a for me at least, was a bit of a unknown name. And that would be Mr. Troy Walters. So we requested an interview for Mr. Troy Walters. He was the first OC candidate we requested an interview. He's been the wide receiver coach for the Bengals for 2 years now. And so he's obviously helped develop mid-round draft pick like Tyler Boyd, early round draft pick, I believe like early second-round draft pick T. Higgins, and of course, top 10 draft pick Jamar Chase. So good results as a wide receiver coach. You like to see that. But he doesn't have any NFL play calling, offensive coordinator, even pass game specialist experience. However, his play calling experience comes in the form of college. At the University of Nebraska for a year, he helped the Huskers' 2018 offense average 456.2 yards per game, which is number 2 in the conference. And you see that was a big increase in yardage from the year before he joined the team. So that's always a good mark as well. The year before that, he was at UCF. According to the Bengals, he helped guide the Knights to the greatest 2-year turnaround in NCAA history, inheriting 127th ranked offense, 125th ranked scoring offense. But by 2017, they had the 5th most yards per game and were first in scoring. So that's 2 college stops now where he has drastically improved this offense as offensive coordinator. Then he went to the NFL and is under Zach Taylor in a good offense there with the Bengals. And they have a system that is Zach Taylor comes from a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan type of coaching tree. So you'd think maybe Walters take some influence from those coaching staffs as well. And the Bengals offense, man, I mean, it's hard to complain about that. Obviously, we don't really have any inkling of if Walters is involved in play calling or play design or structure or anything like that. But he's not a horrible candidate. At least he does have some play calling experience in college. I would prefer to him to have some play calling experience in the NFL. And I think this point will be driven home by the next candidate we talk about too, is I think it's going to be rare for us to find an OC with play calling experience in the NFL with good results when calling plays to come be our OC. You know what I mean? You think about it, like those types of guys, they aren't unemployed for a reason, because it's rare to find experienced, proven offensive coordinators. They don't just pop up on the market all the time. You typically do have to take a chance on a younger guy who is a bit unproven. And so that'll bring us to door number 2. Actually, the one thing I did want to mention some other things about Troy Walter first. The other reasons why he intrigues me is, like DeMeco Ryans, he is a former player. He played wide receiver. He won the Biletnikoff Award in college, which is, if you don't know, the award for the best wide receiver in the nation. And those, I have some tweets to show y'all. Those around the Bengals organization, they are really high on him. He's pegged as a rising star. He's part of the accelerator program to accelerate minority coaching candidates and give them opportunities that they may be deserving of. And so here, Paul Denner Jr. says Troy Walters has been a secret weapon for the Bengals at wide receiver coach the last 2 years. He's notably been part of the accelerator program, pegged as a rising star. Furthermore, here's a good quote from Zach Taylor on Troy Walters. He's genuine. He's a tremendous communicator. He's one of the greatest men I've been around on and off the field. I think there is just the respect of the confidence he has speaking from experience, speaking from what he's learned as a coach, just who he is as a man. I'm not going to go through the entire thing there. If you want to screenshot it, go ahead. If you want to read the full tweet, it's up on my Twitter. I retweeted it. But people think highly of the dude. So it's going to be interesting to see if he will be offensive coordinator. Maybe we'll take him as pass game coordinator, something. We will see. But name number 2 is Bobby Slowik. And Bobby Slowik. Let me share my screen again. Boom, boom, boom. All right, Mr. Bobby Slowik, 10 years of coaching experience in the NFL. He's got an interesting career to me, man, because he's done a little bit of everything. He's dabbled in a couple things, which is a bit rare for an offensive guy. He started as a video assistant with the Redskins, and then he started on the defensive side of the ball. 3 years of defensive experience here on that Washington Redskins coaching staff. And so I think having someone who understands both sides of the ball, that really helps as like a play designer, as an offense coordinator. So I think that's intriguing. And then he moved over to the Niners with Kyle Shanahan. He was there for all of DeMeco Ryans' career with the Niners as well. Again, he started on the defensive side of the ball. That seemed to be his bread and butter in the beginning, but then he moved over to the offensive side, gained the offensive passing game specialist role after Mike LaFleur was brought to the Jets with Robert Saleh. And then this past season became offensive passing game coordinator. And the results of the Niners offense speak for themselves. I'll pull up some numbers here that I tweeted out earlier. So in 2022, San Francisco ranked 13th in pass. That all sounds great about Bobby Slowik. But the question is, how much of this offense is, him and how much of it is Kyle Shanahan? And I would estimate that majority of it is Kyle Shanahan. And so we can't really say that, Bobby Slowik is guaranteed to have success as an OC. He'd be a bit of a wild card because, again, like Troy Walters, no play calling experience at the NFL level. But again, like I said, that may be the risk that we are forced to take when you hire a defensive head coach. Joshua Stanley, thank you so much for the $20. Oh my gosh, y'all have been killing it today. I really appreciate the support. It means a lot, man, because I genuinely would not be able to be where I'm at today working with the 33rd team full time without you guys' support, man. Honestly, it means a lot. So yeah, thank you. Great day today. Happy to see you back again. Happy to be back, man. I miss these streams so much. I don't have too much time for it with the day job killing me, but every once in a while for great occasions, I'll be back. Jacob Sahagun Jr., I apologize for butchering your name. What's good, Jordan? Who do you see as our DC and OC? I got you. Here we go. We ran through the 2 of the OC candidates in Troy Walters and Bobby Slowik. Who would I prefer of the 2 is a interesting question because stream is lagging. Is it still lagging? I just crashed or did Jordan? Let me know if it's good now. I see that those comments are about a minute ago, so let me know if it's still good. But it's interesting because Slowik has no offensive coordinator experience whatsoever. But he has more results as a pass game coordinator under that Niners offense, and he's learned from Kyle Shanahan directly, whereas Walters does have OC experience and good results, but it's at the college level, and the college level is a different game than the NFL level, so it's hard. How do you really know if that's going to translate or not? So I think these are both. It stopped, bro. You good right now? Okay, not really right now. Thank you. Appreciate you, Joey. Appreciate you, Jay, Eden, Oscar. Yeah, I don't know based off of what you guys know about these two candidates, put in the chat if you'd rather have Bobby, if you'd rather have Walters. Let me know. Let me know. Those are the OC candidates. The DC candidates, I'm honestly even more optimistic about, which kind of sucks because it's more important to nail the OC hire than the DC hire, in my opinion. But the first guy we'll talk about is Chris Kosterek, the great Aaron Wilson. If you don't know who he is. He's a great reporter in the Houston Texans media. But he reported the other day that Chris Kosterek is going to be a name that DeMeco will try to bring with him to the Texans and as a potential defensive coordinator. He is the best defensive line coach in the NFL. That's what he's heralded as. That's what his reputation is. 20 years of coaching, man. He's just gotten results with over so many years, with so many different personnel, whether it's late round picks, whether it's mid round picks, whether it's high round picks like Nick Bosa. I mean, look what he's done with Charles Omenihu, giving him some bright moments with the Niners, turning around his career. And so he'd be a really good get for sure. I think the interesting thing to note, though, is I've had some Niners people tweet at me saying that it's been reported that he does not want to be a defensive coordinator. And this has been happening for the past couple of years now. And he's very happy being a D-line coach. So that's something to take into note. Maybe he won't want to come, but I feel like if Aaron is hearing these things, then there's some sort of buzz and he has some sort of interest. And the other little nugget that may make you believe that Kosterek could be leaving is the fact that the San Francisco 49ers today, of course today because DeMeco gone, today the 49ers requested to interview two different candidates for their defensive coordinator position. That was before even the DeMeco thing was official, by the way, but of course they knew. So they're looking for a new DC. That may mean Kosterek isn't going to be their DC, or that may mean he's going to remain their D-line coach, and that's why he won't be their DC. So that's interesting. Oscar says, Jordan, I believe Coach Ryan going to help the defense team better. Even they hired a defensive coach. I think he's going to make the defense pretty nice, and I'm really happy for Jalen Petrie and Derek Stingley and Christian Harris. Okay, the other name that has been mentioned for the defensive coordinator position is Marquand Manuel, and he kind of like Troy Walters was someone I had no idea who he was. I had to do some research on him, to be honest. And the more I research about him, the more I kind of like buy into him a little bit and think he actually could be an interesting guy. Number one, he's a former player. He was a safety. He spent, 7-8 years in the NFL. So he wasn't just some scrub. And then he moved on to, let me zoom in a little bit. And then he moved on to coaching career. He started with the Seahawks, and he spent 3 years there. And in his 3 years, that was like the peak of the Seahawks. Not the peak of the Seahawks, but Legion of the Boom, coaching up that secondary. They went to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and they won 1. So he is someone that has Super Bowl experience coaching the secondary. He's a secondary guy. I like a lot about what that says about his reputation and his resume, having a lot of success with those Seahawks defenses. And then he went over to the Atlanta Falcons. Dan Quinn brought him over, again, that Seattle style of defense. And so if this guy were to be our defensive coordinator, you would maybe think that the Texans would want to go after some big, long cornerbacks, a la Richard Sherman, a la Brandon Browner, and those types. But yeah, Dan Quinn brought him over to the Falcons. And the good thing about Manuel is he actually has 1 year of defensive coordinator experience. And the question is, of course, how well did he do in that year? Well, the results are pretty good. 2017, as a defensive coordinator, the Atlanta Falcons finished 8th in points per games allowed, 9th in rushing yards per game, 12th in passing yards per game. And so good results as a DC. Now, of course, Dan Quinn was the head coach, and he's a defensive guy. So again, how much of that can you really put on Marquand Emmanuel, and how much of that is Dan Quinn? We don't know. But I like the resume of this dude, and he seems to be a name that the NFL is high on because the Carolina Panthers, before they even hired Frank Reich, they requested to interview Manuel for their defensive coordinator position. So he's not just some nobody that's we found out of nowhere and nobody else is interested in, right? At least another team is interested in him. He's got a good resume. After his time with the Falcons, he was the DB coach for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2020. It was Doug Peterson's last year there. And so once Peterson got canned, Sirianni brought in his own guys. And Manuel went over with Saleh, and Saleh brought him over to the Jets in 2021 and 2022. And so that's the connection here with DeMeco. I'm sure he's heard good things from Saleh. Saleh probably talked him up. And yeah. Oh, the other connection is, of course, on the Dan Quinn staff in Atlanta. Kyle Shanahan was the OC. Mike McDaniel was on that staff, and Mike LaFleur was on that staff as well. So DeMeco has a lot of names that can cross-reference with Marquand Manuel and give him the rundown. As for his time, his most recent results with the Jets, there's some good stuff. He's been the safeties and the DB coach for them the past 2 years. So he's not directly worked with Sauce Gardner, but he does work in tandem apparently with their quarterback coach, as he does oversee the entire secondary. And the Jets secondary allowed the least touchdowns in the NFL, funny enough, tied with the Houston Texans. But yeah, that's my little rundown on Marquand Manuel. Not a bad name whatsoever. I like the Super Bowl experience. He'd be an experienced guy to add to DeMeco's staff. Frank C says, what is DeMeco's defensive coaching style? Frank, I want to clarify. Do you mean as kind of as a coach? Like, is he a player's coach, or is he going to be hard on guys? Or do you mean like his scheme? Like 4-3 versus 3-4, like what zone or man more? Like, curious what you mean by defensive coaching style, just so I can answer your question properly. Good to be back. Good to be back. Alrighty. We've talked about the offensive staff. We talked about the defensive staff. I would love Chris Kosarek as the DC. I'm becoming less optimistic that he's going to come with us, and I think Manuel would be a good option for DeMeco because of his Super Bowl experience, because of his former player experience, and wherever he's gotten pretty good results. So happy with those guys. Now let's move on to free agency and players that we should target now that DeMeco Ryans is our guy. All right, Frank C says versus Lovey's style was Tampa 2. Yeah, so Lovey's scheme was Tampa 2. They played a lot of Tampa 2, primarily his own coverage team. DeMeco Ryans plays a lot of – he's a hybrid between like Robert Saleh's scheme and Vic Fangio's scheme. So it's a lot of cover 3 and a lot of cover 4. So again, he is a bit more of a zone heavy guy, but he sprinkles in man coverage more than Lovie Smith did, which is good for Derek Stingley. And in particular, the coverage that they call the most, which is cover 6. And cover 6 is essentially a mixture of cover 4 and cover 2. You'll have cover 4 on the field side and the other way around. Cover 2 on the field side, cover 4 on the boundary side. And even though that's a zone coverage, the way that the Niners play it is one of your cornerbacks, the one on the weak side, so the one on the cover 4 side, he will be essentially playing man coverage. That's kind of how the rules work. And so that's good news for Derek Stingley, and I can see Derek Stingley succeeding in that type of style in this cover 6, cover 4 defense. He'll play cover 3, he'll play cover 1, he'll play cover 2 man. They switch it up a good amount, more so than Lovie Smith, which is good. The main thing about DeMeco Ryans' defense, though, honestly, is he gets his guys to play really fast. It's an aggressive defense. They try and simplify things so that it's less thinking and more just reacting and rallying to the football. A big difference I think we'll see between his defense and Lovie Smith's defense is just tackling efficiency, not missing your tackles. Because the one thing with Lovie Smith is, yes, he got us to force a lot of fumbles and create turnovers, but the part about forcing fumbles there is he always asked their players to be punching the ball, and going for the ball, and going for strips instead of just being a big, instead of just wrapping up and playing technique tackling. And so DeMeco is more of a play by the book. He was a linebacker, so he knows all about tackling technique and that's what he's going to teach. And so I would expect to see a lot more missed tackles, and that's good for guys like Christian Harris, who missed a lot of tackles, and great for a guy like Jalen Petrie, who missed a lot of tackles, and that was really the only hole in his game. All right, let's go into free agency, Dylan. Surprise free agents that draft pick Miko might prioritize. I don't know if I have a surprise yet, but I do have 3 free agents for you guys. Coming from the Niners, first up is Jimmy Ward, and he is Niners safety for like forever, it feels like. Yeah, since 2014. So he's 31 years old. He's a 8-9 year veteran in the NFL. I think he would bring quite a few things to the table. Number one, his veteran experience. We do kind of need a leader back there in the safety room to help with Jalen Petrie, the youngster. So number one, there's the vet experience. Number two, he can help, translate and teach DeMeco's scheme. He already knows everything, and so he can be that communicator on the back end to the young guys, to Petrie, to Stingley, etc. Number three, he's just a good quality player. The production is there. The past 2 years, he has 5 interceptions in the past 2 years, 11 pass breakups, and averages about 70 tackles here. This year, he played less games due to injury, and the 5 games started as a bit deceptive. He started the first 5 games of the season, as you'll see here in this game logs. He started the first 5 games of the season as a strong safety, and the only reason why it says he's not a starter on these is because after the 49ers dealt with some injuries to their starting nickel cornerback, Jimmy Ward showed his versatility and played nickel corner to replace them. And so in terms of Pro Football Reference and how they track things, nickel corner isn't going to be a starting position. But if you go to the snap count, he still played 67% of the snap counts, and that's only smaller because he only played 12 out of the 17 games. So he's a starter quality player. He would help teach a scheme. He's just good at football. And he would fit pretty well as a strong safety, free safety even, or nickel corner if we do need it. Now, the next guy is a very interesting one in Emmanuel Moseley. And Emmanuel Moseley's had some really good years for the Niners as a good outside cornerback, and he's young. He's just 26 years old. So he's 5'11", 190. He's not the biggest corner in the world, but he does play outside for them. And this past year, he had a bit of a down year because he tore his ACL 5 games into the season. I guess you can't really say he had a down year because it was injury, but he just didn't play. But you look at the years that he was healthy, he's not a big interception guy. It's only 1 in every single season of these 4 seasons that he's playing. But 11 pass breakups in 2021, 9 in 2020, 8 in 2019. The stats show that he gets his hands on balls, paws. And so I think that would not be a bad option just to add some cornerback depth. Of course, he's coming off an ACL injury, and so his market might not be that big. And I'm sure he loves playing for DeMeco Ryans. So I think this would be a free agent to pencil in to, maybe compete with Steven Nelson for the outside cornerback position opposite Derek Stingley, or at least provide some very good depth. You can never have enough corners. Last guy I want to talk about, Azeez Al-Shaair. And I think this may be my favorite one of all because we know DeMeco Ryans as a linebacker. He needs some good linebackers to work with. He's helped develop some great ones in Fred Warner, in Dre Greenlaw, and Azeez Al-Shaair. And so Shaair is a bit smaller as a linebacker, 6'2", 228, but that's kind of the modern mold nowadays is you get these smaller linebackers who are faster because they are smaller. And so he was really interesting to me in the sense that he was technically a starter for them. Like you see, he started 9 games. But he was like their starting strong side linebacker. And whenever they would go to nickel, he would be out the game. And so he officially got the starts. But if you go to his snap counts, he only played 42% of the snaps. And so he's really more of a rotational guy for them. He's a bit of a luxury for them. On most teams, he'd be, again, like a solid starting linebacker, but the Niners had Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, so they didn't really need to use him too much. And so this year, 12 games, 9 starts, just 44 tackles, just 1 TFL. Nothing screams good about that box score, but you go to 2021 where he started every game he played, all 13, and there you go. That looks better for a box score. 100 plus tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 2 fumble recoveries, so he's around the ball, forced fumble, 5 pass breakups, and interception. So the stats look good when he was a starter. I'm gonna hopefully watch some film on these guys if we, hear some things about them being interested in them all, and if we sign them, and that'll give me a more well-rounded opinion on these players. But from a surface level, it looks good. And these 3 players fit 3 needs that we definitely need. Linebacker is one of our top needs. Safety opposite Petrie is an underrated need in my opinion. And then outside cornerback depth. Can never have enough of it. Top 3 players on defense you are most excited to get coached by DeMeco. Jalen Petrie, low-key Jonathan Grenard, and then Christian Harris. Probably you can move around Christian Harris and Jonathan Grenard however you want, but definitely those 3 I'm excited about. Other free agents, it's a good linebacker class. David Long out of Tennessee is good. He's more of like a weak side linebacker like Christian Harris. And so I think this is an important distinction, honestly, to talk about when we're trying to project linebackers to the Texans, whether it's free agency or whether it's the draft. You have 2 main linebackers in how NFL defense play nowadays, 2 instead of 3 because nickel so much. Anyways, your 2 main linebackers, right? One of them is going to be on the weak side of the defense, which is the side of the defense that is basically lining up to the offense's like side of the field that has more wide receivers, if that makes sense. And so this weak side linebacker is typically someone who's better in coverage, typically a bit more athletic, typically a bit smaller, typically not as good as beating blocks. And so they're put on the weak side, a bit more away from the action as a run defender, but closer to the action as a pass defender, if that makes sense. So that's your weak side linebacker. That's your Christian Harris. Then your middle linebacker, your strong side linebacker, that's your DeMeco Ryans, that's your Brian Cushing, that's your Christian Kirksey. That's your leader of the defense, your communicator, the guy who's going to be first to the action versus the run, who needs to be able to beat blocks, shed them, evade them, whatever it may be, and then still be decent in coverage against, tight ends and running backs and whatnot. But so for us, we hopefully have the weak side linebacker in Christian Harris, give him some more time to develop. Let's see what we got. I think DeMeco Ryans can work some magic with him. But what we need is that middle linebacker, that strong side linebacker. And I don't want to watch another season of Christian Kirksey. I don't. He's horrible. Do not. I love you, Beige. I love you, dude. Noah Sewell, you're right, Dylan. You're right. Noah Sewell's that guy for me in the draft. He's absolutely who I would love as that middle linebacker. He's a big dude. He's got the size for it. He's got the athleticism for it. He's got the instincts for it. If you watch his 2021 tape, it's significantly better than his 2022. And so that means I think we could get him as a bit of a steal, maybe in the second round, maybe the 3rd round. He shouldn't fall to the 3rd round, but if he does, that's an absolute steal. But yeah, he's one of my I wouldn't even say draft crushes this year, but I think he's one of the few guys that I can see, DeMeco Ryans molding into a great linebacker who has Pro Bowl potential. All right. So that's free agency. There were some other names I tweeted out. Those were the three guys I just talked about right now are the San Fran, targets. Earlier today I tweeted out some other guys kind of on my wish list. Man, I tweeted a lot today. What the heck? Those I tweeted in months. All right, here we are. Let me share my screen for y'all. I'm in love with Kalijah Cansey. Oh, absolutely. We're going to talk draft really soon, right after this quick stuff on free agency, my dude, because good call with Kalijah. He's one of my draft crushes for sure. Okay. Share screen. Boom. All right, this is my free agent wish list I tweeted out earlier this morning. So let's stick on the defensive side of the ball for now. Some of the other guys, if we look outside of San Francisco, Joey, you mentioned him, TJ Edwards, middle linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. I would really love him. I think he can fit well with DeMeco's defense, and he's relatively young, entering his prime at 26 years old. Drew Tranquil from the Chargers would be another option. He also plays middle linebacker. And he's done some good things with Brandon Staley there, and he's again relatively young in his prime, 27. Another cornerback we could go after, other than Emmanuel Mosley, Sean Murphy-Bunting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's 25 years old. The Buccaneers have both him and Jamel Dean as free agents, so it'll be interesting to see who they pick. He's big, he's long, he kind of fits that Richard Sherman mold of cornerbacks, the big corners that Robert Saleh has had, that those Seattle defenses have had. So he would be a nice fit there. As for safeties, there's a few I like a lot. Taylor Rapp would be the best of them. He plays for the Rams. He's good. He can play both free safety, strong safety, in the box, deep, cover tight ends in man, can cover in zone coverage. So he does a little bit of everything, and he's a pretty good tackler too. Deshaun Elliott's more of a strong safety type of guy, good tackler, brings a punch, in coverage, but he's young as well at 25, so I'd like to take a chance on him. Donovan Wilson for the Cowboys had a great year for them. He was a tone setter in the back end of that defense, and that Dallas defense played really, really well this year, and he's one of the reasons in that secondary. So he would bring some fire as well as a big-time tackler. I believe he had like 100-plus tackles this year, actually. Let me see. Donovan Wilson. If not 100, it was close. Maybe I'm tripping though. No, okay, just barely. 101 tackles, 5 sacks, so he's someone you can bring on blitzes, 2 forced fumbles, 2 picks, only 2 pass breakups and 1 pick. So he's not so much of a coverage guy per se. Only has 3 career interceptions and 6 career pass breakups. So the production on that side of things isn't really there, but I like him as a good strong safety to pair with Jalen Petrie. What else? Last 2 on the free agent side of things. Arden Key. He had a great year with the Jags this year as a rotational edge defender you can rush him off the edge and you can slide him inside. And Arden Key was actually with the Niners, I believe the year before, maybe it was the year before that, but he was there with DeMeco Ryans, and so they might have a little bit of a connection there, and he might want to bring him to the Texans. And I think he would be a good, edge 3 for us. I think he'd be in consideration with guys like Ogbo Okoronkwo, whether we want to re-sign him or not. I think we can re-sign both, and those can be your edge 3 and 4, and that's a really damn good group there. Grenard is your edge 2, and hopefully we draft an edge number 1. Last guy here is Draymond Jones of the Denver Broncos. He's kind of a pass rush specialist. So he's someone I could see, not needing to break the bank for him because he's not really a great run defender. You can only really play him on pass downs. But I think as a rotational guy behind Malik Collins, he would bring us some nice juice. And the 49ers have always loved to rotate their D-line. So I do expect us to sign some new faces there for sure. As we work over to the offensive side of the ball, some wide receivers I like. I don't think this wide receiver class is very good in terms of the free agency pool. There's not like any wide receiver 1s really, and even the wide receiver 2s, like they're just going to end up getting overpaid. And so I'm looking for more like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 types. So you got a mid-tier option here and then draft, a premium guy in the draft in April. So Zach Pascal comes to mind. He used to play for the Colts, and then he followed Sirianni to the Eagles. He's the best blocking wide receiver in the NFL. He's the best blocking wide receiver in the NFL. He does the dirty work. He helps that elite Eagles run game. He helped an elite Colts run game when he was with Indianapolis. And God damn it, we need to get better at running the ball. And Brandon Cooks, not a good run blocker. Guys like Philip Dorsett, not a good run blocker. Nico Collins, meh. Nothing crazy, but Zach Pascal would be a big upgrade in that regard. And he's also just a decent, reliable, like wide receiver 4 type of dude. So you have him behind Nico Collins, John Mechie, maybe Chris Moore, and then you also draft the guy as well. And I think that would be nice. DJ Chark is someone from the Lions who's had a lot of success, and he was with the Jags before. And he's someone who is a vertical threat. And so a very different type of guy than Zach Pascal. but he's tall and he's got speed on him. So if we want to get someone to stretch the field, which I think is an element we need to add to our offense, DJ Chark is your guy. Lastly, let's look at the O-line. I think we need to at least sign a center because I think we're going to go with a rookie quarterback this year, and I would rather not go with a rookie center with a rookie quarterback. It would be nice to have a veteran, experienced, proven, productive center, so that it'll make the quarterback's life easier. And so a guy like Bradley Bozeman he's maybe number one on my free agent list. He had a damn good year for the Panthers this past season. The Panthers quietly had a really good offensive line in the second half of the year when Bradley Bozeman became the starter. And so he might be back with them, but also Frank Reich, new coach, maybe a new offensive line and system. So who knows? But I would honestly throw the bag at Bradley Bozeman. Really good run blocker, very solid in pass protection, and he's a good gap power scheme run blocker, which is what Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil are best at too, and Kenyon Green. And so he would fit that type of scheme. Now, the interesting thing is that type of scheme is not the Shanahan run scheme, the zone scheme, but we'll cross that path when we get there. Right now, we only know the players on the team, and so I'm trying to fit players to those players and not players to an imaginary scheme that we don't know yet. Isaac Seumalo for the Eagles. He's their right guard. Right guard? Left guard? Left guard. Right guard. Right guard. He's their right guard. And, it's interesting. He's always had, good reps on film, and he's graded well by PFF and all those guys. And my interesting question to ask about it is, how good is he really when he gets to play in between Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson? I don't know. I'd have to watch some more film on that personally to build a better opinion, but he is one of the top guards on the market, and so I put him down there. The other guy who I think could come a bit cheaper is Ben Powers, guard for the Ravens. He also has played with Bradley Bozeman before when they were both on the Ravens, so that would be kind of fun to get both of them maybe. He's young at 26, so he fits the timeline. Again, he fits the gap power scheme that's Titus, Tunsil, and Green are best at. So, yeah, that's my list. And but what I should say is those lists of free agents I just went over, it's kind of like a mid-tier options. If you notice, I omitted guys like Deron Payne and Tremaine Edmonds. So I'm not too sure that we're going to get big fish like that. Fingers crossed, hoping for the best, hoping DeMeco can attract them, and we do have the cap space for it. But right now, I'm just focused on mid-tier guys. Alrighty. Where's the jersey from? The jersey is from a thrift store down in Austin, Texas, literally at the UT campus, actually. So it was a nice find for like $10 or something. Craziness. John Griffin knows, man. Jonathan Mingo gives you watch him at Ole Miss wearing that number 1. It's hard not to think about AJ Brown, especially because he's a built dude. He's like 6'1", 225. Like he's thick. He's thick with 2 C's, man. He is thick with 2 C's. All right. Austin, Texas, baby. What a great city that was. Okay. We talked about free agency. We talked about the coaching staff. What else did I want to touch on? I do want to say something about kind of our current personnel. I don't think we have I think our core building blocks right now obviously are Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, and Christian Harris. And for those 3 guys, I think they all play a good role in DeMeco's scheme, and I think he's going to make them all better. Jalen Petrie, if you watch the 49ers defense last year, they had a guy by the name of Talanoa Hufanga, who was a versatile safety, can play free safety, strong safety, can come up in blocks, you can blitz him, you can cover a little bit. He's a big, feisty tackler, and I just explained Jalen Petrie, basically, right? So I see a lot of similarities in their game, and I think Petrie is even better than Talanoa in coverage, so I love that. I talked about Derek Stingley earlier and how he fits into the style of defense that DeMeco runs. And then with Christian Harris was always a guy who was a great athlete, and he wasn't a good processor. He wasn't good at like thinking about the game and reacting and being in the right place at the right time, even though he was such a good athlete. And so I think a coach like DeMeco, if there's anyone to coach him up and make him, a smarter player who's more in the position at the right time, it's DeMeco, man. So I'm very excited for that. I heard any Senior Bowl comments. Any Senior Bowl comments? We'll transition to the draft now. We'll talk about the Senior Bowl. We'll talk about some draft targets. We'll talk about what to do at 2, what to do at 12. We'll talk about the quarterbacks, and we might just do a mock draft or 2. Any Senior Bowl comments? I wish I could be at the Senior Bowl this year, man. I went last year. It was my first time, and I had the best time ever. I really didn't think I'd have time for it this year with work, and so I didn't even bother trying to ask off time for work and go there. But I wish I would have went, man, because it was a hell of an experience. I definitely recommend anyone who is, just a fan of the game, trying to be a scout, trying to make connections, trying to make it full time in the NFL and the football world. Definitely try and do what you can to get to the Senior Bowl, man. Meet a lot of good people. Get a lot of good experience. I heard Tank Dell's doing really well. He's one of my guys. Houston wide receiver. He's tiny. He's like 5'8", 170, something like that, 165. He's tiny, but he's got game, man. He's got game. He's going to be a good day 3 pick as a steal. Great return specialist. Kind of a bit of a gadget player, but he's also a really good route runner. So I don't know. I think there's something there for him as a day 3 pick. Keanu Benson is exactly another Senior Bowl star, I think, Evan. Wisconsin defensive tackle, and he played a lot of nose tackle for them. I think he's kind of versatile, honestly, because he's got good quickness for a nose tackle. Very good run defender, holds up at the point of attack versus double teams well, which is exactly what we need. He's kind of a day 2 guy, anywhere late round 2 to mid round 3, late round 3 probably. So I love him with our 3rd round pick, and I think he'd be a pretty instant contributor, honestly. He has some DJ Reader to him. He's a bit lighter and a bit more athletic, but he stops the run in a similar way. Texans have interest in Corey Undlin for DC. That's a good name. I believe that's the Niners like pass game coordinator or their secondary coach or something like that. But I like that. I don't mind the name so far. Joey. Tajay Spears is absolutely another Senior Bowl sleeper out of Tulane, the running back. He's like Tony Pollard to me, and he weighed in really well. I believe he was like either 5'11" or 6 foot, but a good 205 pounds, which is good for him because if you go watch him right now, he looks a bit skinny, and he's more of like a scat back type of guy, change of pace type of guy. But so for him to weigh in at 205, that's good for his stock. And you're absolutely right. I think it's a perfect compliment for Pierce. Again, Tony Pollard type of guy. Great athlete. He's got juice. He's got vision. He can make guys miss in the open field. He's going to be dangerous on like jet sweeps and screens and in the passing game. So I really like him a lot. Other guys in the Senior Bowl, Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback out of Miami, Riley Moss, the cornerback out of Iowa. I really like them. I don't like anyone really in this linebacker group at all. I think it's kind of weak, especially at the Senior Bowl. In terms of defensive ends, who is there? It'll be interesting to see if Isaiah Foskey out of Notre Dame can recoup some draft stock. He had a really good 2021, but a bad 2022. So keep an eye on him. I swear I'm missing names, man, now. But over on the O-line, I think there's interesting names. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to call him Olu. His name is like, his first name starts with an O, his last name starts with an O, and he's from Michigan, and he's a center. That's what you need to know. Olu, something. Keon White, that's who it was. That's who I was thinking about on the defensive end. I knew there was someone. Keon White, Georgia Tech, I believe. He can play edge and he can play inside. And that dude is just twitched up. That dude is an athlete, man. He's a dog. I really like him. Andre Carter, maybe, but he's kind of like, I just don't know. He's going to be a bit boomer bust because he's really skinny. He's like 6'6", 255. And so he's just kind of skinny. I think he needs to put on some weight. I think he'll be a bit of a project. Rashawn Johnson, 100%. He's one of my draft crushes this year. So it's a good running back group between Rashawn Johnson and Tajay Spears. Those are two guys to definitely look out for. Both would be great mid-round options to complement Dameon Pierce. Hey, the boy Jair's in the building. How you doing, my guy? Give him a follow on Twitter. Mock Draft Tuesday. We're about to get into it. The last few things I want to talk about in terms of the draft is kind of how hiring DeMeco Ryans, maybe or maybe it doesn't change our draft strategy. I think personally, you still go quarterback at 2, but I do think this hire makes it slightly more likely that they grab a defender at 2, Will Anderson. I think maybe over Jalen Carter, and I'll explain why. But I think definitely they're going to at least grab a defender with one of those 2 first-round picks. Whether it's at 2 or whether it's at 12, I don't know. I think that's a fine, idea to go with. And if you do take Will Anderson at 2, then try and do what you can to get Anthony Richardson at 12. If you have to trade up to like 9 or something, do it, man. Do it. I think he's worth it. Highest ceiling out of any quarterbacks in this class. So yeah. Why do I think potentially DeMeco Ryans would want Will Anderson over Jalen Carter? Well, you look at the defenses that he's played on and that he's coached. With the Texans, we had a dominant edge rusher, with J.J. Watt. With the Niners, they had Nick Bosa. And in those Robert Saleh schemes and those DeMeco Ryans defenses, they always prioritize an elite edge rusher over an elite defensive tackle. And so I think you could see Will Anderson Jr. as his Nick Bosa. That is one of my player comps for Will Anderson Jr. And so I think you could see him kind of as the face of his defense and the foundation really for that defense. If you go Anderson, do what you can to get AR-15, maybe even trade for Trey Lance. It was reported that his price would be a 3rd-round pick. If it's just a 3rd-round pick, man, I'm pulling that trigger. 100%. 100%. What else was I going to say? Now the quarterback decision. Now that we've gotten DeMeco, and both of the offensive coordinators that DeMeco has requested to interview so far, they come from Shanahan trees. So let's go down the path and let's go down the situation that we get a Shanahan offensive coordinator. What is that going to mean? It's going to mean a run game heavy offense with a play action heavy passing game. Lots more of under center rather than shotgun snaps. And typically Shanahan offenses have thrived with, more pure pocket passers than like dual threat quarterbacks. But again, this is all kind of hypothetical and what's been done in the past, and things can be different in the future for the Texans. And we don't exactly know how DeMeco views this offense and what he believes in. So just take it all with a grain of salt. But in this Kyle Shanahan offense, honestly, I think all 4 quarterbacks can survive in it, can thrive in it. I'll start from like the bottom of my quarterbacks. Will Levis is my quarterback 4. And it's not because I don't like him. I still have the 1st round grade on him, but why I think he would succeed in this Shanahan offense is because in 2021, when he had his great year, he had a Shanahan offense coordinator, Liam Cohen, who came from the Rams. And so we've seen him excel in that system already with talent around him. So it can work again. Then we go to AR-15, and I think AR-15, there's going to be some development there because in college he played a lot out of shotgun and pistol formations and not a lot of under center, but there were some under center reps and he did really well on rollouts. And that's another big aspect of the Kyle Shanahan offense is rollouts off of play action, as we know, those bootlegs. So he did a lot of that and he showed a lot of promise on those rollouts. So there's going to be some adjusting to more under center, but he's also going to look good on rollouts. And then Stroud may be the cleanest fit for a Shanahan offense because, again, he's more of a pocket passer, super accurate, great touch, great full field reads, and he's someone that thrives off play action. He thrives off play action. When he can get the linebackers moving, create up open space for him, like he finds the open guys. He's great vision on the field. And so I think Stroud may be the best fit for a Shanahan style offense and the most seamless in terms of like pro readiness. And that brings me to Bryce Young, my quarterback 1. and he would still be my quarterback one, even though I think that's, Stroud may be better in a Shanahan system. And the reason why I think that is because of what we've seen Bryce Young operate out of. With Bill O'Brien's scheme, it was a very RPO heavy scheme out of shotgun formations. So it wasn't a lot of under center. It was mainly shotgun, a lot of RPOs, which is not a big Shanahan thing, but it has been more recently. And so, again, I also don't think Bryson would be a bad fit in the Shanahan system. I'd probably rank it Stroud, then Young, and then Levis, and then AR-15, I think, in terms of pure fit, not in terms of pure talent. But yeah, I think there'd be a little bit of an adjustment for Bryce Young because he's never under center. He is like never under center. And he's a killer in shotgun. He's a killer on RPOs. But his footwork would need some fine tuning when you go under center. So anyways, those are my thoughts kind of on the quarterbacks of this class. I do think Stroud is the most pro-ready fit for a Shanahan-style offense. And lastly, for the draft, I think the positions of focus for DeMeco's defense that we need to draft to succeed: defensive end, middle linebacker, then defensive tackle, and then safety. So a lot of in the front seven there. D end, I think ideally we can. Why is Monty Matt saying oh no? Ideally we walk away with a D end and a linebacker in like our first 5 picks, I would want to say. At least 2 of those are a defensive end and a linebacker. Because it'll be huge, man. Getting that middle linebacker for DeMeco would be massive. He needs that guy in the middle. Okay. Answer some questions. If you have any questions, now's the time. And then we're going to get into a mock draft. So drop your questions here. I'm going to scroll up and see what I've missed. Anything interesting? That's if we get a Shanahan OC. We don't even know yet. Absolutely, Jerry. It's just kind of us going down that path because both of the potential OCs we've interviewed come from Shanahan trees, and DeMeco's coaching career has always been under a Shanahan guy. So that's kind of the assumption there. But you're right. Not for sure. CJ's actual middle field is perfect for it. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty seamless. Defensive coordinator Jeff Zagonina is Project Ryan's staff. I'll have to do some research on him because I have no idea who that is, to be honest. Young in play action could be deadly if you can get more comfortable under center. I agree with you, Blake. I think don't get it twisted. I don't think Bryce Young will be bad in a Shanahan system. I just think we haven't seen him do that yet, and so it's a safer bet to say Stroud will project better, at least early on. But I absolutely agree. Young in a play action heavy system would be a lot of fun to watch. It would just maybe take some more time. Ooh, Marcus Davenport would be really fun. He had a bad year for the Saints, but the Saints were just shit this year. Ivan Pace was interesting to me because he's kind of built like a safety. He's like 6 foot 5'11", like 220. And he moves like a safety, don't get me wrong, but we need a bigger body at linebacker beside Christian Harris because Christian Harris is already our weak side linebacker, our smaller linebacker. And so we need a bit of a bigger guy in the middle. Think of a guy more built like DeMeco Ryans rather than a guy built more like Christian Harris. What you feel about Peyton and the Broncos? I think it's hilarious, Yad. I think it's absolutely hilarious because it was reported that Ryans was their top guy. And they tried hard and hard and hard to court him. And some reports are even up to today, they were still trying to pry him away from us. But DeMeco said, nah. He said, nah, H-Town for me. This is my dream. So I just think it's hilarious. I think the Broncos having to pay a first and a second, they get back a third, I believe, is just a lot. And it's not a price I would have been happy to pay, especially when you can get DeMeco for free. So I think it's hilarious. Do you think the Texans will bring in a vet quarterback? Maybe Carr. I would not put it past them to bring in Jimmy G. I would not put it past them to bring in Jimmy G. And I would absolutely hate every bit of it because of the amount of money that he makes and because of having to give up draft capital for like a bridge veteran quarterback. I just think that's kind of stupid. I I think Carr will be too pricey for them, but I think they could get Garoppolo, and obviously there's a lot of connections there between Ryans and Casario now. So I think it's maybe possible, but I would lean to them picking a quarterback in the first round. Sweet spot of the defensive end class is top of the second round. 100% agreed with you. Felix Enudike Azoma, Nolan Smith, Lucas Van Ness, BJ Ojulari, Keon White, Will McDonald, Isaiah Foskey, Derek Hall. The names go on and on. This made me think about a draft strategy that I really am kind of leaning towards, is because at pick 12, it's kind of a weird spot in the draft where you're just outside of that first tier of prospects. Like the way I rank the big board, I guess, the prospects in this class is the top 4. That's your top tier. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, whatever order you want, go for it. And then there's like another 5 players in the next tier, and then there's a big drop off after that. And so in that 12th spot, you're kind of in this weird spot where it's a little bit of a drop off. And so I kind of want to, it's a bit of a drop off to the point where from the 10th pick to the 25th pick, you're kind of picking from the same pool of talents of players, if that makes sense. And so because of that, and because of the fact that the value in this class is really from 25 to 50 in terms of draft picks, the late first to the second, I'm very much in favor of trading down from 12 and picking up a second round pick. So you'd still have a first rounder, a late first, but then you'd have 2 seconds. You'd have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 thirds. That would be kind of what I would think about doing. So let's say we don't take a quarterback at all. Would you want to wait for Caleb, or would you think we would go for a veteran quarterback? I think we would go with a guy like Jacoby Brissett, who would compete with Davis Mills, and we'll see where that goes. But it would basically be punting for a year and going for Caleb Williams or Drake May or one of those guys. I think they would definitely add someone to the room with Mills, because I don't think that Mills has justified being the unquestioned quarterback 1 going into the year. I would love it, Money Matt. I would love it so much. I would love Tremaine Edmonds. He'd be a great fit for this middle linebacker that I've been craving for DeMeco Ryans. I just don't know we're going to go get a big fish, dude. I don't know we're going to go get that top tier guy. Noah Sewell definitely fits that. Demarion Overshone is a weak side guy for me just because he's a bit smaller, but he's a freaky athlete. He used to play safety, but he's kind of horrible in coverage, funny enough. So I don't love Overshone, but I love Sewell. Thoughts on Hooker as a late quarterback, age aside? I wish you could just throw his age aside. I mean, if he was 22, like Anthony Richardson, or 21, yeah, I think Richardson even is. If he was not an older prospect, 24, I would be on board with taking him in the 3rd, 4th round, something like that. Because he's got good tools. He's athletic. He's got a big arm. He's shown off the deep ball a lot. But he's a bit of a project to me because of the offense he played in college. Not a lot of NFL concepts and reads. So he would be a bit of a project for me. They called the Texans dysfunctional, Alejandro. Where is it now? I have been told, I have been informed. So let's go through and check out Mr. Corey Undlin. Corey Undlin, 49ers. Let's see. And you guys can get my kind of raw reaction in terms of researching this dude. All right. Corey Undlin, 49ers. Boom, boom. Defensive pass game specialist and secondary coach. He's got 20 years of experience, which I like. I do want DeMeco to add some experienced guys to his staff because it's hard to be a first-year head coach, and there's a lot on your plate. And so it'd be good to have some guys who already know what they're doing and aren't also in their first year of their position. Anyways, he's in the second season as the 49ers defensive passing game specialist and secondary coach, so he's got some good rapport with DeMeco for the past 2 years. blah, 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 blah. He was the defensive coordinator for the Lions. So he's already got defensive coordinator experience. I like that. Blah, 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 blah. We know the 49ers defense was great. His one season with Detroit in 2020. Blah, 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 blah. I believe the Lions had a horrible defense that year, but I could be wrong. Before the Lions, he spent 5 years as a DB coach in Philly. Coached up Avonte Maddox, Sidney Jones. Okay, Malcolm Jenkins, yeah. Prior to the Eagles, he was the DB coach and defensive quality coach with the Broncos with Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, TJ Ward. So everywhere he's gone, he's had some good players that he's had to work with and has coached up. Interesting. He started with the Patriots. So that'll be interesting with the Nick Caserio ties. I could very much see this being the guy. And I'll be pretty for it between him and Marquand. Matt, what was his other name? What was this dude's name? Marquand Emmanuel. Both of those guys seem like pretty decent options. Both of them have DC experience. I like that Emmanuel was a former player, and I like that he has Super Bowl experience, Super Bowl winning experience. But Corey Undlin ain't bad as well, and he would be kind of like a more seamless fit, I would say, for DeMeco's scheme because they ran the same thing. Okay, interesting. Corey Undlin was never a player. He coached in the college ranks at California Lutheran starting in 1998. He's bounced around quite a lot. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots. So he too has some Super Bowl experience. In 2004, when they won Super Bowl XXXIX. Any Latin majors over here? Let me know what the heck that is. Colts of poverty? Are we just getting on the Colts for no reason, or did something happen? Did they finally hire Jeff Saturday? I need them to hire Jeff Saturday so badly, y'all. So badly. Oh, that would be amazing. I hate this hire. Kyle, you may be the first and only person to say that, and of course, you have a Titans logo in your thing. Super Bowl 34. I knew someone was gonna get it. Thank you, Jay. Super Bowl 39. Psych. Jay was wrong. Jay sucks. Jay doesn't know anything. Bye, Jay. F the Colts just because. Just because. Why would we even need a reason? Why would we even need a reason? I just read that T. Higgins is named to watch in the trade market. Would you be interested in what would you think to take to get him? I think if we hire that Bengals wide receiver coach, who was the first guy that we requested to interview, what's his name again? Troy Walters. I would be even more in favor of trading for T. Higgins. I'm already in favor of trading for T. Higgins because I think he can be a wide receiver one. And I think between him and Nico Collins, you got a lot of size and jump ball ability for a quarterback. Just throw it up, trust him, and they go and bring it down. And so I think that would be a lot of fun. I wouldn't give up a first-round pick for him. Maybe the Browns 2024, but I definitely wouldn't give up 12. And 2 is off the table. I wouldn't give up 12. That's too premium of a pick because you do have to pay T. Higgins too. And so I would lean more to a second-round pick or even a second and like a fourth. Maybe even go as high as a second and a third, depending on how many teams we're bidding with. But I'd be down, man. What round would you think you'd be? What round do you think would be acceptable to draft Roschon Johnson? I went to high school with him. That's dope, man. Everything I've heard from him is that he's a leader, great dude. And honestly, 4th round probably, early 4th, I'd be cool with it. I would say 3rd. He's more of like a 3rd, even 2nd round talent, but because of the nature of the value of the running back position, you kind of have to knock him down each round. And so probably 4th, like literally Dameon Pierce range. That would be amazing. That'd be a steal. Maybe even like mid to late 3rd, you can do it. But like at that point, you're drafting like an RB2, and it's kind of not the greatest value. Like if he was your RB1, then sure, go for it. But like I'm thinking more 4th round would be ideal. Exactly, Blake. You with me? You with me? 80-20 balls. Absolutely, Jerry. Absolutely. Pat McAfee is my second favorite Pat. Not gonna lie, Patty Storm is numero uno, 100%. Early 4th, like DP, yes sir. All right, speaking of which, let's get on to it and do a mock draft. NFL mock draft simulator. What does everyone use for their mock draft simulator? I was using Pro Football Network a lot of time. PFF's board is not bad. I did like 4 of them today. I'm addicted. Mock draft database isn't bad. I need the draft network to come back with theirs because that's typically who I trust the most. Oh, before I do this, I honestly have to show y'all something really freaking cool with my job, because at the 33rd team, we just launched our draft site, and it's honestly even cooler than I thought. I wasn't expecting this much, but oh, there we go. Oh, the headlines, the33rdteam.com. That's where I'm working now. It's been a blessing, man. It's been the best. Honestly, I'm super, super grateful to be able to work for the 33rd team. We're essentially trying to be, I guess, another PFF, another Pro Football Network, but we're unique in the sense that all our reporters are current players, or former coaches or executives. And so you'll have Chris Johnson, CJ2K, writing this article. Eagles wide receiver Devontae Smith will be a difference maker in the Super Bowl. We have video content along with written content. Anyways, my point was we launched the draft site now. And so you'll see our big board with some cool stuff there. But what really took a lot of my time up today was you go to the scouting reports. Did I not just hit scouting reports? Anyways, you go to a guy like Jalen Carter, and you have a good, like, succinct scouting report here. But you also have like scouting report, overview, video content, strengths, weaknesses, critical factors, positional factors. So you see how we graded these guys. You'll see some stats, overview with some like advanced stats. So this TPTS is total points per game, which is like basically a metric to show how much value Carter has added, and it's number 1 among defensive tackles. So best defensive tackle in college, essentially. There's some fun stats here. Again, this is that whole total points thing. You can read more about it on Sports Info Solutions. That's what SIS is. You see his like usage and impact, like where he lined up was at nose tackle, defensive end, how often he was held, pass rush stats, basic stuff there, advanced pass rushing stats. And so there's a lot of good stats here to kind of help you form an opinion on these players. And it's not just basic stats like tackles, tackle for loss, but it's like your broken and missed tackle percentage, these things that I need to read about on the glossary. But you get the point. For all these dudes, we have everyone there, everyone on the board. You can see our rankings there. And this is our roster too. Now I'm just kind of getting stuck up in this because this is kind of just a really cool thing for me. This is our roster of contributors of our analysts. So you got guys like Rondé Barber, Matt Castle, Lenny Fournette, Eddie George, Cam Jordan, KJ Osborne, Uchenna Nwosu, some like current players like the St. Brown brothers, some recently retired players like Mitchell Schwartz. You got some GOATs like Ed Reed, Joe Thomas, Rod Woodson. You got some coaches like Marvin Lewis and Eric Mangini, Chuck Pagano, Wade Phillips, the man, made a video on DeMeco Ryans today. It's up on YouTube, 33rdteam.com, not .com, 33rd Team YouTube if you want to watch it. This is the squad. This is the gang. Anyways, enough me ranting about my job. QJ at 3 and wide. I know, right? I was like, y'all, we're gonna get roasted for that. And Will Levis at cornerback 1, we're gonna get roasted for it. But hey, scout's gonna scout. Gotta trust them. Alrighty. Let me go back to the mock draft. PFF is cool. PFF. Okay, cool. We'll do PFF and PFN. Make everyone happy. Boom. Continue without disabling. Oh, goodness. Whoever thought of the idea of cookies, like, get out of here, man. Alrighty. Let's do it. 7-round mock draft. Houston Texans. Let's go. See, this is why I can't take Pro Football Network seriously. Paris Johnson. Ooh, do I do this, y'all? Go from 2 to 5. I don't like going out of the top 4 but actually we can go to the top 4. You know what? I might do this because I get 2 firsts this year, a second. That's a high second too at 37. and next year's first. I'm gonna do this. Oh, let's go. I'm not even gonna entertain it. So Paris Johnson went first. Will Anderson went second. Quentin Johnston went third. Bryce Young went fourth. So unfortunately, we don't get Bryce here. But in this scenario, I'm very happy with CJ Stroud. I'm very happy with CJ Stroud, man. 12 for 27 and actually first. I don't really see that being that realistic. This maybe. Let's see who's on the board. Who would I go? Well, let's hide this for now. Wait, did I just get rid of them? Oh, I did just reject them. Oh, I'm stupid. I thought I did hide. Anyways, we're at 12 here. We took CJ Stroud, and typically when I go CJ Stroud, I typically go Jackson Smith and Jigba. My comp for him is Cooper Kupp. And that says about enough. But he also scares me because of his injury history this past year, and he kind of reminds me of Derek Stingley, of some guy who's had really good production when he was young, but his most recent year he struggled with injuries and he's kind of more on the decline than on the come up. And so I'm a little bit worried with JSN, but in this scenario, we went Stroud. I'm going to go JSN. There's not really anyone else I think is better value here. Like maybe Keely Ringo, or Brian Branch or Christian Gonzalez would be my other options, but let's go pair him up. Let's go get CJ Stroud as wide receiver 1. And the good thing about JSN is he's mainly a slot guy, but I think he can play some outside as well. And so even though we do have John Mechie is also a guy who can play some slot, but also play some outside. And so you have those two versatile guys. Now you can move them around a little bit. I like that. We're going to chill on the trades for now because we did make one. Ooh, Bijan's still there at 20. Keely Ringo's still there at 20. That's interesting to me. I might go BJ Ojulari, or actually Devin Witherspoon would probably be... No, let's go. See, I want to get Noah Sewell in the second, and I want to get BJ Ojulari now, but I would have Devin Witherspoon ranked higher. Devin Witherspoon's going to be like a top 10 player for me, even better than Keely Ringo. So I kind of want to go him. It's very rare. He's there at 20. Okay. Boom and boom. No thanks. So now we have some debate between Noah Sewell, Siaki Ika, and Felix Anudike Uzoma. I think Noah Sewell is the move. Just because he's so hard. It's hard to find another middle linebacker like him. There's no one really else in the class. He's kind of one of a kind in that sense. Hey, we have that other second round pick, which I totally forgot. Anudike Uzoma's gone, so we're going to go Siaki Ika. That's easy. Now let's go to the third round. Oh, Drew Sanders is still there. Drew Sanders is the only other guy I think maybe could play that middle linebacker role, but I have to watch his tape. I haven't watched him at all. I've just heard good things. Dalton Kincaid in the third would be a steal. That's kind of where my eyes go instantly. Ooh, or Kalijah Kancey. We could get both of our defensive tackles. Siaki Ika would play nose. Kancey would play 3-tech for us. We would be set up there. I'm going to go that. I'm going to make our D-line just kind of scary because we didn't get an edge, and so Kancey can be our guy to... Oh, Kincaid's still there. Okay, I'm going Kincaid. Anyways, Kancey's our guy to rush the passer. You watch Kalijah Kancey at Pitt, and you'll see some Aaron Donald. He's not as big and not as powerful as Aaron Donald, but he's just as quick with his hands and such a good pass rusher for a defensive tackle. Compare him and Siaki Ika up, dude, your D-line's nasty. Oh, and we can still get a guy like Will McDonald here. Oh, see, I knew I was doing something right. Now, the one thing I do want to kind of do is address the O-line a bit more because CJ Stroud is a quarterback that is a little bit inconsistent under pressure. And so I'm thinking about going center or guard. There's no guards. I'm thinking about Ricky Stromberg, or I'm going to go an edge with Will McDonald. But I could get KJ Henry later, and they're similar grades to me. Even Nick Herbig later. Keon White. If I can get Keon White that much later, I'm going to go center now and then go get edge later because there's more depth in the class there. The center class is kind of weak this year. So let's see which edges are there now. KJ Henry's still there. Keon White's still way down there, I believe. Yeah, so let's see who's best available. Okay. KJ Henry would be there. Joe Tippmann is another center I like. I like John Michael Smits, Joe Tippmann. Who's the dude I just drafted? Ricky Stromberg. Those are three of the centers I like a lot. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go just KJ Henry. KJ Henry's a little bit more of like a never mind. I'm going Rashawn Johnson. I haven't gone running back yet, have I? No. No, I have not. So 5th round, Rashawn Johnson, that's a steal. And then we're gonna already queue up Keon White, because let's be honest, he ain't falling to the 6th round. Where'd he go? Keon White, boom, steal. Watch his tape. He's a really fun player. Where else do we want to go now? So I think we just need to address the secondary, really. Oh, we already went Devin Witherspoon. Let's go try and find a safety to pair up with what's his face. Not liking the value there. I don't want to reach and force a pick. Ooh, I do like Riley Moss a lot. He's one of my sleeper corners. So I might go there. Nick Herbig would also just be a good value pick. We already got 2 DTs. We got a running back. We got a quarterback. We got a running back. We got a wide receiver. We got a tight end. We got a center. So maybe a guard. No, there's no guards I like. Okay, best value is Riley Moss at corner. We got 2 outside corners now. We can never have enough corners. God, we got more picks. Is there really no safety I like? I have to watch more of the safety class. There's really no one I like. Okay, let's just go here and take best available. I guess what wide receiver would probably be where you'd find. Yeah, let's get Tank Dell. Easy. Good return specialist at the very least. And potentially a very good wide receiver 3. Maybe let's just draft some guard. Curtis McClendon, I've heard good things about. I haven't watched his tape yet, but apparently he's good. All right, we'll go Nick Herbig. I think that's a steal. Lakers beat the Knicks. Vari, I know you're hype about that. All right, this is mock draft number 1. CJ Stroud, JSN, Devon Witherspoon. Again, we traded down from 2 to 5 with the Seahawks. Picked up 20, picked up 37, and picked up a 2024 first. This is a hell of a draft, man. GM thoughts out here in his bag. Out here in his bag. We got starting quarterback, starting wide receiver, starting cornerback opposite Derek Stingley, starting Mike linebacker, starting defensive tackle, Siaki Ika. He can start over Roy Lopez day 1. Kalijah Kancey will rotate in with Malik Collins, and I think this is honestly perfect for us because Kancey's not ready to defend the run like day one. He's decent at it, especially versus solo blocks, but he's going to get eaten alive on double teams in the NFL just because he's a smaller dude. And so Malik Collins is under contract for another season, maybe 2, I believe. Let him teach Kancey. Once Collins is gone, Kancey steps into the starting role. Boom. Dalton Kincaid, man, he gives me shades of Travis Kelce. I didn't talk about him a lot when I took him, but best receiving tight end in the class, better than Michael Mayer, in my opinion. Yes, I know that's going to be controversial, but he moves like a wide receiver. He's got really, really good hands, and he's amazing after the catch. That's where he's just infinitely better than Michael Mayer, is he moves like a wide receiver before the catch, during his routes, and after the catch. So I love Kincaid. He's not a great blocker, but you want to move him in the slot as a mismatch weapon. That's the best way to use him. Ricky Stromberg, maybe doesn't start as a center day 1, but I think maybe late rookie season he can do it. He's a senior. He's an older guy, so he's been very experienced. Rashawn Johnson, perfect backup with Dameon Pierce. That's a great 1-2 punch, dude. I would hate to tackle those 2 all day long. Keon White, versatile defensive lineman, can play some edge, can play some inside. He's going to have a big week at the Senior Bowl. He's already had a good first day. Riley Moss, another good Senior Bowl player. Nice outside cornerback, great ball skills, good in zone, good off and press coverage. Nathaniel Dell, Tank. What else is there to say about Tank? Y'all know Tank at this point. I like that draft a lot, man. I like that draft a lot. Hot take, I like Mayer, but I think Kincaid upside may be huger, higher. That's what TJ's saying. And TJ, I'm agreeing with you. You watch Michael Mayer, and he's like, he screams high floor, but he screams low ceiling too, because he's just not a good athlete. He's kind of like, and this is kind of a bad example to use because he's a Hall of Famer, but he's kind of like Jason Witten to me in the sense that very dependable hands, good route runner, solid blocker, but he doesn't really like excel in one specific area as an elite, trait, and he's not a good athlete. He's like a fine athlete, but Kind of slow. Do one without any trades. I got you, Vari. We'll do that next one. All right, now we ain't gonna call Mayer overrated. Yeah, I don't know if he's overrated per se, but I mean he's a first round guy. But you look at the history of that's kind of what he's like, right? Slow ass dude, but really great hands, good routes. He's just smart. He knows how to get open. Good blocker. He has the frame to be an even better blocker. I think he's a little overrated as a blocker, but first round talent. But the thing is, you look at the tight ends who've been drafted in the first round, and it's horrible history, horrible history, right? Kyle Pitts. I mean, talented dude, but where did he go this year? Right? Where did he go? T.J. Hawkinson maybe finally doing something in the for the Vikings, but like the value just isn't there. Guys like Eric Ebron, guys like OJ Howard. I know I'm missing a few, but the tight end first round history has just not been it. Not been it. Alrighty, let's do another one. We're gonna do PFF's mock draft this time. And I'm gonna try and do a better job of reading your guys' comments. Alrighty. Let's go. Bears on the clock. They take Will Anderson. We went Stroud last time, so let's do Bryce Young this time. We're not going to do any trades in this mock. We're going to stick at 2. We're going to stick at 12. Took Devin Witherspoon last time, so I'm not going to take him again. Is Jordan Addison there? Jordan Addison is there. I really like Jordan Addison to pair him up with Bryce Young. The other guy I would think about is Brian Branch. And maybe Lucas Van Ness. I only watched one game of Lucas Van Ness, and I honestly didn't really like what I saw. He's not my type of edge rusher. He's not my type of edge rusher because he's kind of like just unathletic. I don't really like his bend. I don't really like his burst. He's kind of clunky, but I think he might be more of like a defensive tackle, honestly, which could work. So I need to watch more on him. I'm not saying I don't like him. I just need to watch more because there's only one game, so it's a small sample. So I'm going to put up to you guys Brian Branch, keep the Alabama bloodline going, or Jordan Addison. I'm not going to sell anything about these two guys. I know I've talked a lot about Addison, so I feel like y'all are going to go Addison. But Brian Branch is kind of like, I don't even know who to describe him as. He's kind of like Kenny Moore or like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And honestly, kind of like Jalen Petrie, where he was mainly a nickel in college, but he can play either safety positions and nickel corner. He only missed one tackle his entire collegiate career, which is just insane for a defensive back, and especially for a nickel who's like constantly around the action because he's at that second level of defense and not the third level. And I don't know about you, but having a defensive back who his strength is tackling is going to be really, really nice beside Jalen Petrie. And with how much nickel is the new base defense nowadays, and people are in nickel like 80% of the time, Branch would be a starter for you. And so he can blitz, he can cover in zone and man. He's a great run defender. He can play nickel, free safety, strong safety. And so he makes your defense very versatile with him and Petrie. It would really be a nice 1-2 punch. Okay, here we go. Let's see the things. Okay, we're starting with Jerome's in the building. Jerome, you know Jerome's in the building when he drops his $7 like clockwork. DeMeco, yes, baby. Let's go. Thank you, my guy. Thank you, Jerome, Mr. Consistent. All right, so let's count them up. 1 for Branch, 2 for Branch. Sorry, Nolf. I have a feeling this is not going to be your day. 3 for Branch, 4 for Branch, 5 for Branch, 6 for Branch, 7 for Branch, 8 for Branch, 1 for Addison, 9 for Branch, 10 for Branch, 2 for Addison. Bryce and Addison worked out together over some. Ooh. Branch. Branch is great, man. Maybe I made y'all a bit biased because I just hyped up Branch a lot, but let's go Branch, man. 2 Alabama guys for DeMeco, also an Alabama alumni. Branch was the leader of that defense, and I think that'd be great for our defense. All right, I like it. Now I want to either address the trenches or get Bryce Young his wide receiver 1, but I'm not sure we're going to get that in the second round. Nathaniel Dell, they have as rated as a second rounder. That's interesting. Okay. I haven't even seen another wide receiver yet. Where are the wide receivers at? Hyatt? In the second round, I don't think I can pass on that. Jalen Hyatt would be Bryce Young's Jameson Williams. He would be Bryce Young's Jameson Williams. He's kind of Will Fuller, but with better hands. I love him. I love him. In the second round, that's great value there. I can't pass up on that. Okay, now let's get back to the trenches and give DeMeco some guys to make his scheme work. Derek Hall would be decent. Keanu Benton, honestly, might be the move. We talked about him earlier in the stream, and I just Noah Sewell. Okay, I'm gonna try and target Noah Sewell at 73. I think that the edge depth is better than the DT depth, and so I think you need to go DT first. So Keanu Benton, I think, can start day one, take over Roy Lopez's spot, and be a solid run defender from day one. And getting that in this third round, I may be like underplaying him a bit by calling him solid, but like that's really, really great. It's really, really great. Derek Hall, still thinking about it. So I'm going to think about Derek Hall or Noah Sewell. You guys put it in the chat. Hall or Sewell, who you want. I personally am going to lean Sewell because I don't think there's many other linebackers who can do what he can do. And I think there's some other edge rushers who can maybe not be as good as Hall, but be better than the linebackers that we could take in the position that we would take them if you know what I mean. Hopefully. Okay, Sewell or Hall. Sewell. I love Hyatt. Go Kincaid. I really thought about Kincaid, Blake. I really did, but I mean, if Hyatt's there, like Sewell. Like that big body thump. Let's go. Easy decision for us. Where'd he go? No Sewell. Nice. I like how this draft is forming up. We got two guys on offense, two guys on defense. We got Bryce Young and his wide receiver one and Jalen Hyatt, and we got Brian Branch and Noah Sewell. We got Keanu Benton. I forgot about Keanu Benton. Damn, we've already had 5 picks. It's only the 4th round. Calm down. Wow. Okay. Christopher Smith would definitely be the best value here, and he would fit really well beside Petrie as a safety because he's a really good tackler. He can play a lot of different types of zone coverages, can play free or strong safety, and so you're going to have that versatility. But we did take Branch already, so I'm not really going to invest too much more in the secondary. I'd rather go into the trenches on either side of the ball or running back. Kendre Miller is a good option out of TCU. I think there's better options, though, in the 4th round, like Roschon Johnson or Tyjae Spears even later. Joe Tippmann might be the center I want to go with, but I kind of want to go veteran route with the center. I kind of don't want to go a rookie. So I'm looking at edge, I'm looking at running back, and I'm looking at tight end. Let's do that. Let's go running back. So I would probably have to take Roschon now in the 4th. And I'm wondering if I can get Tyjae in the 5th. Tyjae or Kenny McIntosh. Kenny McIntosh would be the guy in the 5th. So there's options at running back. There's depth still there. We got wide receiver, tight end. Brevin Spann-Ford would be a really good blocking tight end. But do I want to spend a 4th round pick on a blocking tight end? Probably not. I'll try and go Luke Schoonmaker later. Or we could go Cameron Latu and pair him back up with Bryce. He's not a blocking tight end at all, but he's more of a receiving tight end. It's your O-line. Yeah, we're gonna say in this scenario that we address that in free agency. So even though Tippmann wouldn't be a bad option, let's go edge. Oh, you can do it by multiple positions. That's actually interesting. KJ Henry. There's not many other options. Let's just do it, but we're getting too many O-line here. Edge, KJ Henry. Okay. After that, it falls off a cliff. KJ Henry is literally the last guy to draft. So let me make sure I didn't grab an edge before. I don't think I did, right? No. Okay. Let's go KJ Henry now, and then we'll try and get a running back with our 5th round pick. I like that. All right. Dang it. He's gone. What about Kenny Mack? Okay, nice. So Tyjae Spears was gone. That's too bad. Abanikanda is really nice too, but I think McIntosh is the better running back because he's shown more in the passing game. He's more physical. He's more well-built than Abanikanda, and he breaks tackles a bit better, falls forward more. So I like Kenny McIntosh right here. There's so many good running backs, man. I think Roschon Johnson, Tyjae Spears, and Kenny McIntosh. Out of every mock draft I do, I'm going to end up with one of those three, and I'm going to be happy. And you should too. Alrighty. Now we're going to go tight end because I think we can get maybe Latu. Let's just see the best available. Could go just guard and Javion Cohen. I didn't honestly like his tape at Alabama. But yeah, I think we're going to go with Bryce Young's tight end, Cameron Latu. We showed pretty good rapport with that Bama. And then I like this guy, Gerard Clark. He's a big body on the D line, and he's very raw, but he's very athletic, very explosive, and he pushes the pocket pretty well. So he's a bit of a project, but like here in the 6th, 7th round, like that's what you have to deal with. DeMarco Hellams could be interesting. He's a really good tackling safety, but he's bad in coverage. And why would I put out a safety that's bad in coverage? You know? I think we'll go with another wide receiver here because that's where there's typically value late in the draft. Demario Douglas had a really good week at the Shrine Bowl. Apparently he was the best wide receiver there. Michael Wilson's an interesting name out of Stanford. Jaden Reed is a speedster, but since we already got Hyatt, I'll go with a different type of guy. And so I think I'll go with Michael Wilson. He's kind of a big body guy, good route runner, good hands, kind of like an all-around, do-it-all type of guy. So I'll go with that. And then the last pick, let's go with a corner. I haven't gone to corner yet. An outside corner. Don't like these options. Don't like those options at all. Did we get a linebacker? We did. We got Sewell. Safety. Don't like those options either. Maybe the Meriwether kid from Iowa. No good there. All right. You know what? This really doesn't matter. It's a 7th round pick. I've heard Kayvon Meriwether is good. I've not watched a single second of his tape. But Iowa DBs do have a good track record of success. So, boom. Let's see it. I don't care at all about you grading my draft. I know you're going to give me a 17. It's letter grades. Psych. I know you're going to give me a B. All righty. Bryce Young, Brian Branch, the Alabama duo there. They graded Jalen Hyatt as an F. See, what? Why? At the top of the second? That's perfect. That's exactly where you want to be taking Jalen Hyatt, in my opinion. Anyways. Keanu Benson. So I think those first 4 guys and probably Sewell, 5 guys are starters, man. If you have 5 starters with your first 5 picks, that's great. That is great. Love those guys. We talked about a lot of them already, so I'm not going to go too in depth. But, man, both these mock drafts I really love. I think I'll prefer the other one just because we did the trade to get an extra 2nd and an extra 1st round pick. So I do like that one a bit more. But if we did trades in this and got some of the players there, I probably like this one more because I like Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. And getting Bryce Young and Jalen Hyatt would be super, super amazing. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Deuce Vaughn or McIntosh would be my picks after Johnston. Yeah, I like Deuce John. I keep saying Deuce John. Deuce Vaughn, a good amount. He's just like 5'6", like 180. Like he's just tiny. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's a bit more risky than guys like McIntosh, or Tajay Spears, Abanikanda, guys like that. But boy, does he have juice. All right. Are you going to read my suit? Oh, Rob, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry, Rob. I did not see that. $5 from Rob. I appreciate the support, Rob. He says, what do you think about trading down from 12, grabbing Bijan, and trading up for the Gator guard? Interesting. I'm not a big fan of going Bijan in the 1st round because running back is not really that premium of a position where it's the value is there to take him in the 1st round because of how quickly nowadays running backs, depreciate and wear down. And by their 2nd contract, you don't want to be paying running backs. I mean, you look at Ezekiel Elliott, not the last running back, but one of the most recent 1st round running backs to go at a premium pick, 4th overall. Great early on in his career, don't get me wrong, but now he's seen as a negative asset. And Saquon Barkley, if Saquon Barkley doesn't have this past year, he's in that conversation as well. So I'm not a big fan of running back round 1. especially because we're not a team that's like a running back away or like one offensive piece away from like competing, right? We're in like the foundational period of our team. And so I feel like we need to build through the trenches and then add like more complementary pieces like running backs later. And the last reason why I wouldn't do it as well is because we have Dameon Pierce. If we didn't already have our RB1, then you'd have more incentive to go grab Bijan Robinson. But then what? Pierce is your RB2 and Bijan is your RB1. Like, you're not going to make Bijan your RB2 if you draft him, right? And so it just doesn't seem like the best use of resources, in my opinion. But I do like the Gator guard. I don't know if I would trade up from him in the second round because I feel like he's going to be late round, early second. So like maybe you trade up a couple picks for him. But I do like Osiris Torrance. I think he's the best guard in the class. He was at the Senior Bowl. He had a good day at the Senior Bowl. I watched an interview of his. He seems like a really smart dude. Watched a lot of film. So I like him a lot. We need to build a line first. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Bijan is generational. Don't get me wrong. He's a Saquon Barkley level of talent. Like, I think he's even better than Zeke, honestly, because of how good of he is as a receiver. Don't get me wrong. This has nothing to do with the talent that Bijan is. It's just I don't think it's the best use of our resources. All right, man. First 5 picks of this can slingshot this franchise. I'm going to the draft. I'm so excited. Hey, that's going to be super exciting, TJ. Happy for you, man. But you're absolutely right. Talking about the line, we have our tackles. We have our left guard in green. Exactly. Josh says it. We need a center. We need a center badly. Even right guard, like AJ Cann wasn't good, but he was signed to a multi-year deal, and I think it would be beneficial for us to kind of have the continuity between him and Titus. And so Titus doesn't have to deal with like a revolving door at right guard. Have him for at least one more year. He can be your like worst out of year 5. You know what I mean? That's fine. He just can't be like your best offensive lineman or like your second best or your third best or your fourth best. But he can be your 5th best offensive lineman, if you know what I mean. He can be the weak link. He's fine as a weak link. But that means we need to upgrade center. And so center, honestly, after quarterback is our number 1 need on offense. 3 guys in the draft: Joe Tippmann, John Michael Schmitz, or Ricky Stromberg, potentially. But I think I would prefer to go the route of a veteran in free agency so that a rookie quarterback doesn't have to deal with a rookie center potentially making mistakes, and you would have a veteran center who can help with protection and calling things out and communication and whatnot. So yeah, Bradley Bozeman is the move. Bradley Bozeman is the move in free agency. Alrighty. I am going to peace out. This was a great stream, y'all. What a great day. What a great day in Texans history. January 31st. DeMeco Day. DeMeco Day. It's great to say that. It's great to think about that. Texans are actually finally doing something right. Dysfunctional no more. DeMeco ended the dysfunction. And we're here to become a force yet again. I'm ready for it, man. Things are actually on the up. We've got the 2nd overall pick, the 12th overall pick, 5 picks in the top 75 picks of the draft, $40 million in cap space, a head coach that players are going to want to play for once. And things are on the come up, man. The rebuild is happening. You love to see it. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Follow me on Twitter, Texans_thoughts if you haven't. Take care, everyone. Come back for more. And remember, the film don't lie.